What the hell? I'm so not used to standing in front of a camera anymore. I'm back! Finally! I had to literally blow off the dust from my camera. That's bad. That's really bad. But it feels great to be back. I missed you guys. Hi guys, welcome back to my Therian Territory. You may call me Thorn, and yeah, I am back with another video. I'm actually planning to start making videos again regularly because I just really want to. It's been such a long time. You guys may be wondering, why was I away for so long? What happened to me? Did I die? Well, I didn't die, obviously. This sudden break from YouTube wasn't really planned, to be honest, but it kind of felt right in that moment. I had a lot of stuff to figure out for myself. I had a lot of stuff to do, mostly. I had to get certain creativities that are not related to my YouTube channel out of the way, and now that that's been done, I feel like an entirely new self, which I will touch upon later. I have been incredibly inspired to do other types of creative work that has been on my mind for like several years, and it's been a really important project to me, and I'm very happy that I've been able to put all of my focus into it. But it's also just been very personal to me, and it has caused a couple of transformations, so to speak, kind of like certain aspects about myself have evolved a little bit as a result of this process of my creative work, and because of that I had to take a little more time to be able to adjust to that in order to start making videos again. But I'm here now, and one of those evolutions, if you will, are actually regarding an ultra-human identity, which I want to touch upon today, which is about the topic of CONCEPTKIN. What better way to get back into YouTube work other than actually talking about a topic that's been going on with me for quite a while. So to get to the point, in today's video I want to talk about CONCEPTKIN. This is one of those more rare ultra-human identities that isn't talked about as often, so I thought maybe now is a good time, because at the beginning of December 2024 I have confirmed an Earth CONCEPTKIN identity. I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about what CONCEPTKIN is exactly, what the experience is like, how it may differ from other types of ultra-human identities, and what the experiences are of other people, because I've also asked other CONCEPTKIN out there to share their experience about being CONCEPTKIN and the concept that they identify as. So what exactly is a concept in the first place? A concept is something that is not objective. It's a subjective type of thing. Something you aren't physically able to grasp, but something that we all know what it means. It may be a certain group of objects that all form into one specific concept, or it is entirely subjective of its own. For example, as we will be showing in this video today, space, ocean, music or sound, and Earth, which is me. And as you can hear, these are all concepts that you aren't directly able to touch. Surely you can like grab a pile of dirt and then you're holding Earth within your hands, but holding a little bit of dirt in your hand does not encompass the entire concept of Earth. Just to clarify, I don't identify as Earth as the planet, but more specifically Earth as the element. Surely if you think about it, there's a little bit of overlap there, but it's most definitely tied to the basic element specifically. Earth as a concept brings so much more than just sand or dirt or anything alike. It is also the foundation of where plants grow. It is also the thing that gives and takes life. So these are all parts within the CONCEPTKIN identity that I personally possess that are very important to me. So that's why I don't consider it OBJECTKIN. If I were to identify as a rock, maybe I would have been OBJECTKIN, but I identify as Earth as a whole, so that's definitely a concept. I have actually gathered a couple of people within the ultra-human community who were willing to share their experience as being CONCEPTKIN and how they figured out this identity about themselves. So please feel free to listen to their story.
My name is Talvio, and I'm here to talk about being spacekin. Now, what is spacekin? The definition is a little bit loose, but what's generally accepted is that it's an umbrella term under the category of CONCEPTKIN that encompasses any ultra-human identity that relates to space. So this could be the concept of space or space itself, or a specific part of space, meaning a specific star, planet, nebula, galaxy, etc. Or it could be a combination of these things. Personally, my identity feels like a combination of the two. I most closely identify as the universe itself as well as everything in it. Now, my Spacekin identity actually developed very early in my life, so sometimes I find that it's a little bit hard to describe. But some of the things that I experience that relate to this include feeling trapped in an earthly form, as well as a deep sense of longing for the universe.
And you might be wondering, any concept for that matter doesn't really have any sapience. It doesn't really have any thoughts or feelings, so what exactly would that experience be like? How do you tune into a concept rather than an entity that has its own thoughts and its own feelings? Within my experience, it's more about the element defining me as a person, but also sharing that responsibility that Earth has towards the planet, and really feeling like I am part of that foundation that people walk on and that people, decomposing, for example, and all that type of matter. For me, this is a really personal experience that goes beyond any of my other ultra-human identities. It's not so much about actually experiencing shifts or having the behavior of a certain entity, because, Earth doesn't really have any behavior. It's more so about its energy. The entire concept of bringing life and also taking life is something that I very deeply relate to in a way. And as you can tell, that's entirely different from what I would experience as a wolf Therian, for example, which is why it's definitely not a Therian identity, because as a Therian you really experience urges and instincts and behaviorisms that are tied to your Theritype. I, as a wolf, would experience a whole bunch of things that are related to wolves. Earth is steady, literally grounding. It's a foundation to thrive on. And that is exactly the part that I identify as. So as you can tell, for CONCEPTKIN, it's often a way more abstract way of looking at identity as a whole and seeing how concepts can still be integrated within your own identity. And how exactly did I figure this out? Well, that's an entire story of its own, which is a little complicated to talk about. But like I said before, it really had to do with the creative process that I was working on the past couple of months. I'm not gonna go into full detail about it because it is very personal to me, and it is a very vulnerable side of me that I don't often like to expose to anybody, but it does definitely have to do with my own plurality. So the creative process that I've been working on has a lot to do with my plurality and the entities that are living in my head, basically. What happened during the creative process is that one of my headmates and I sort of integrated in a way, but not entirely. We have become more of a median type of plural, which would mean that we are not the same person, but also not entirely separate. We're sort of fluid in that sense. We are constantly fluctuating between one another, and that's something that's been happening. Don't exactly know where that came from, but I have always resonated with that headmate the most. We've always been a little bit connected in that sense, and now suddenly we've been linked. But that headmate is actually the literal embodiment of the element Earth. And because of that integration, I have sort of overtaken that identity as well. Out of all elements and out of all concepts, really, Earth has always resonated with me the most. I have always had a deep passion and love for nature in a way that I can't even describe. So yeah, as you can tell, there's a really direct reason as to why I have confirmed that identity in the first place. Like, there's been a whole process beforehand that has sort of caused me to develop this identity. But obviously that's just my case. Every ultra-human has a different process of either being born as ultra-human or developing their ultra-humanity throughout their lives. Things change, things fluctuate, especially if you're plural, because plurality tends to change all the time. It sort of forms and bends the entire time. Not for all systems, of course, but for a lot of them, yeah.
When did I first discover it? It kind of just came about. It's always like a feeling in the back of my head. It's just like there, and that's kind of how I discovered it. A lot of process of elimination. Just like, oh, this and this feeling correlates to whatever, right? When I think of the ocean, I think of blue, like very, very big, vast, and that's kind of how it feels to be, I guess. It's like any other kin, I guess. You know how like when you're a snow leopard, you just kind of feel like you are a snow leopard and you know like deep down. That's what it's like, but with the ocean. As for shifts, I don't personally experience shifts. I don't personally get shifts. Sometimes I feel a little bit more or less connected to the kin, but it's never really a matter of like a proper shift. And then how does it differ from being other types of kin? Kind of just differs, and I feel like the way that every other kin would differ. I do think it's a bit more generalized than per se another kin or a Therian, because a Therian is usually a very specific animal. Like I'm also the specifically North American red fox, but I'm also oceankin, so I think it's a little bit more general since it's a concept.
Something else I wanted to touch up on is my personal theory behind how I identify as something that's so non-physical. The way I look at it is that our human bodies, our physical bodies, are just a representation or manifestation of our inner selves, which, you know, you could call a soul or a spirit, if you will, whatever you want to call it. This entire concept of the inner part of yourself not being a physical thing is definitely not new. It's something that's been going through history, through all types of spiritualities for centuries. So the way that I look at it is that this non-physical part of yourself, your inner self, can be sort of shaped by a certain concept. And in my case, that would be Earth, and in other people's cases, that could be something else. In that sense, you can tell it's not entirely the same as just really liking an aesthetic or evolving a certain aesthetic within your life. No, it's really something that shapes you into who you are, even though it is non-physical. And I'd say that's kind of a spiritual take on it. I think that this ultra-human identity of mine is rooted in spirituality. I am very curious to know if there's any psychological concept kin out there, because that would be really fun and interesting to read about. So comment down below if you happen to know any, or if you are one. Something that makes being concept kin stand apart from just really liking an aesthetic is also the fact that, well, at least in my experience, when you are concept kin, you identify as all of the concepts. So that means both the beauty as well as the ugly. There's a lot of stuff about Earth that can be really ugly. You know, like I said before, decomposition, taking life. Mud in general, it's not necessarily something that's lovely. Mud can smell. Earth can mix with all kinds of chemicals that can cause for it to be smelly or anything like, or be ugly or whatever. Yet still, that's something that's still part of me. Well, if you just really like an aesthetic, it's usually more of a romanticization of that aesthetic. So say I just really enjoyed the Earth aesthetic instead of being concept kin, I would have just really been into nature and just really liked to integrate that into my style and stuff like that. But it's definitely deeper than that. But at least, like I said, that's just my experience. Perhaps there are concept kin out there who do tend to identify more as the beauty of it specifically. So could be me, I don't know.
Hi, I'm Renfield and I identify as music, which is known as musickin or songkin in the community and falls under the conceptkin label. How exactly do I identify as music? Well, I see myself as everything that makes up a song I identify as. So the lyrics, instrumentals, overall feel and vibe of the song, all of that contained within myself. Most of the time, when I listen to music, I imagine moving colorful shapes inside of my head, and I see myself as those shapes. The shapes are the music, and I contain them inside of me. Whenever I listen to music I identify as, I feel more connected to myself, and it can also help me at times to feel better about myself as well. I identify as both music in general and also certain songs. For example, the whole D-Set album by Joe, with my strongest song identity being Fool, and also the whole 2020 album, also by Joe, and multiple Steam-Powered Giraffe songs, and I also identify as D&B music as a genre in general. I also experience shifts related to my music self, however, they're quite hard to describe. If I would give it a try, it's like having the music cover your skin and bringing what was contained inside myself to the outside. Not literally, but it feels like it. I always had a very strong connection with music, as I'm highly sensitive, and I experience sounds and especially emotions way more intense than the average. So music had always been a very strong thing to me. Music can express the strong emotions that I have in a way that no words nor actions ever could. and I can relate to music in a way that it makes me feel seen. Like I wasn't alone, as just so many songs feel like myself. Not just by lyrics, but by all that make up the sound of it. And at some point I found out about the identity on Tumblr when I came across a Altahuman blog who identified as Musickin, and I looked more into it, and then I figured that this label aligns with what I feel and the way I see myself. But that it's more than just a connection with music, it is actually identifying as the music.
Yeah, I think we've basically said all of it. Because of this entire change, I will probably be incorporating the Earth aesthetic a little more into my channel, so beware of any changes happening perhaps at some point. But for now, I really hope you've been more informed about CONCEPTKIN and kind of know the idea behind it and how people could even identify as concepts. If you have any questions about the CONCEPTKIN identity or my personal experience, you're free to comment them down below and I will try to answer them. Can't promise anything, but I'll try. Generally, I recommend you like this video and maybe comment down below if you enjoyed it. Also to boost my channel a little again, to let people know that I'm back. Maybe share this video with others to let them know that I am back. Would be really appreciated. And I hope to see you guys in my Therian Territory in the next video. Bye.